Welcome to another edition of the NJCAA Sports Page. I'm Robert Williamson. Another team has fallen from the ranks of the unbeaten. Let's get to the top 10. Number 1, East Mississippi taking on Mississippi Delta. In Scuba, Mississippi, the question no longer is how many points will the Lions score, but when will points be scored on EMCC? The East Mississippi defense registered their 5th straight shutout and haven't allowed a point since the first half of the 4th game of the year on their way to a 65-zip win over Delta. Chad Kelly threw for more than 300 yards and 5 touchdowns and now has 35 on the year. East Mississippi rolled up nearly 600 yards of total offense, went 10 for 12 on third down conversions, and got out of the blocks quickly, scoring 29 in the first quarter to whip Mississippi Delta. Number 2, Iowa Western taking on number 4, Hutchinson. Despite their tremendous success passing the ball this year, it was the ground game that powered Iowa Western to a 58-34 victory over Hutchinson. Sophomore running back Devin Pay rushed for 156 yards and a couple of touchdowns. As a team, Iowa Western racked up a season-high 281 yards rushing. Weaver sophomore defensive back Mondo Williams intercepted 2 passes, bringing his total to 8 on the season. Hutchinson had a 142-yard rushing performance from Alvin Kamara. Number 3, Trinity Valley taking on Northeastern Oklahoma A&M. Trinity Valley rolled up more than 750 yards of total offense and scored more than 50 for the 8th time in 9 games in routing Northeastern Oklahoma A&M 58-9. It was a balanced Cardinal attack with 378 passing, 373 running. Luis Lopez and Marquell McNack both ran for 100 yards. The only A&M score came on a 95-yard Cameron Booty kickoff return in the 3rd. Number 5, Scottsdale. They're 7-1. The regular season is over. Their lone loss of the year to Arizona Western. They begin the first round of the WSFL playoffs on Saturday. Number 6, Snow College in the WSFL as well. Their regular season over at 7-1. Their lone loss came in the 3rd week to Scottsdale. We'll talk about a rematch coming up. Number 7, Mississippi Gulf Coast and Itawamba. Gulf Coast took out their frustrations of losing first place in the MACJC South Division with last week's loss to Colin by pounding Itawamba 49-3. Jason Smith, continuing to recover from an ankle injury, was 10 for 13 for 175 yards, throwing for 1 touchdown and running for 2 more. Itawamba, which saw its playoff hopes dashed on Thursday night with Northwest Mississippi's win over Kahoma, began the year in the NJCAA Top 20. but ended the year below 500 at 4-5. Number 7, Central Lakes College taking on Fond du Lac Tribal and Community College. Central Lake College remained unbeaten, pounding Fond du Lac 48-10 in the opening round of the MCAC playoffs. Quarterback Jake Faber threw for well over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Athen Ashton ran for better than 100 yards and 2 TDs, and Elias Arlington had more than 100 yards receiving as the Raiders dominated every phase of the game. Meanwhile, the Central Lakes defense recovered 3 fumbles and picked off 2 passes. Number 9, Nassau and Lewisburg. The game was barely a minute old when Nassau's Ben Holmes found Nadiam Evans on a 42-yard TD pass, and that would be as close as Lewisburg would come, as Nassau comes away with a 48-13 win to stay unbeaten. Holmes would finish the game with 329 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. Nassau compiled 31 first downs, 632 yards of offense, but it was the defense that shined, registering a whopping 23 tackles for losses, holding Lewisburg to negative 12 yards rushing. Number 10, Arizona Western. They had a bye week, 7-1, the regular season over. They're into the WSFL semifinals on Saturday. Well, here's the point in the program where we always take a look at a guy who played in the NJCAA and then went on to the NFL. Why don't we honor the first NFL start for Zach Mettenberger? Played a couple of years for LSU where he had back-to-back 2,500-yard seasons passing. That's never been done besides Mettenberger. But he actually began his collegiate career after a brief stint at Georgia, playing for a junior college. Played in a national championship, as a matter of fact. Who did he play for? We'll find out right after the break. At the 36-yard line, Jarvis Hall
awfully close. Kemp will wave and miss. Strikeout, getting over. The Royal team leaves the man at third.
Welcome back to the NJCAA Sports page. Here's where we look at the top 10 for JockJive.com and for the NJCAA. Give you a warning, there's a new team at number 1. Key matchups coming up this week. Of course, a lot of big ball games, but here are the biggest 3. East Mississippi is taking on Mississippi Gulf Coast. That is 2 versus 5. It is to decide who gets to the championship game in the MACJC. What about the ball game between Trinity and Kilgore? It's a rematch. Kilgore had a lead midway through the 4th, the first time these two teams met this year. Trinity Valley, number 3, unbeaten, but they've got that tough test in the SWJCFC. And there's one other huge matchup. It's in the WSFL. Scottsdale and Snow College battling in the semifinals. The team that wins takes on the winner of the Arizona Western Glendale game. Those are your big matchups this week in the NJCAA. New feature in this week's program, since we're about a month away from the ball games, they start the first part of December. Potential matchups. Let's talk about the Graphic Edge Bowl. Right now, it would be 1 and 2. Iowa Western and East Mississippi. The opener for the ball game, what about the Iowa Central squad as the number 2 team out of the ICCAC against possibly a Georgia Military College or a Butler team that travels very well? In the Mississippi Bowl, if you got East Mississippi heading north to Iowa, how about Copiah-Lincoln and Mississippi Gulf Coast? It would be a rematch of a grudge match earlier in the season. Valley of the Sun Bowl, Scottsdale is probably in. They're currently ranked number 4. They want a high-ranked team. Possibly Nassau, Central Lakes College, 2 unbeaten squad, so that they say something to the pollsters. The Salt City Bowl, Hutchinson likely in. I like a Snow College, Arizona Western, maybe an Avero, possibly a Kilgore or a Tyler Junior College as opponent for Hutchinson in the Salt City Bowl. Let's move on to the Champs Heart of Texas Bowl. Trinity Valley, they've got much to prove. They want a high-ranked team again. You're looking at the possibility of a Central Lakes squad, maybe a Nassau team. Keep in mind, though, can those teams afford the travel? So there could be other teams that are featured in that particular bowl game. The El Toro Bowl in Yuma, Arizona features the WSFL champ, unless it's Scottsdale. I'm thinking possibly a Snow College or an Arizona Western, obviously, in. Who do they face? It's not for the national title, so maybe you've got an Avero, possibly a Tyler Junior College, or a Kilgore coming to town. That's a look now at the bowls, which, of course, are a month away, so we'll get a clearer picture later. What about that NFL player who began his career collegiately in the NJCAA? We're talking about Zach Mettenberger. He threw for 2,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and took his Butler team to the national championship in 2010. That's it for this week's edition of the NJCAA Sports page. Quickly, let me let you know where we will be this week. First of all, we've got GCAA soccer, Georgia Collegiate Athletic Association soccer, coming up over the weekend. Men's and women's conference semifinals and championship. It's right here on JockJive.com. And audio only of the MACJC matchup between Copiah-Lincoln Community College and Northwest Mississippi. That's for a right to get to the championship game a week from Saturday. Of course, we do productions all over the country, sports programs like this and more, all right here. So you can email us for more information, info@jockjive.com. Go to our website, jockjive.com, and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And 1 week from today, you be sure to be back for another edition of the NJCAA Sports page. For our executive producer, James Crenshaw, I'm Robert Williamson, saying so long.